It seemed to be everywhere, and then it was gone. Whatever happened to the term missional? If you've been around the church for a while, especially in disciple-making circles, you've probably heard this word thrown around. But over the last several years, it seems like we hear it less and less. What happened? I first came across the term missional in a class on the book of Acts back in the year 2000. One of our texts was a book edited by Darrell Guder with contributions from a wide range of missiologists. The book was called Missional Church, a vision for the sending of the church in North America. And the whole idea was that people in North America needed to start thinking like missionaries. So where did missional come from? Why has it faded away? And most importantly, what are the practical implications for disciple makers today? As mentioned, the term missional gained popularity starting in the late 90s, especially with Guder's book, Missional Church, which was published in 98, a couple years before I saw it. Guder and other authors challenged the Western Church to reclaim its missionary identity, not just by sending missionaries overseas, but by living every day as sent people within our own neighborhoods, our communities. This idea had legs because it actually recentered the church on God's mission, often referred to as the Missio Dei, which simply means the mission of God. The message of missional was clear. Mission isn't just something we do, it's who we are. And so the missional movement exploded into the evangelical scene throughout the 2000s, generating conferences and books and church planting strategies and other ministry methods. But if the idea of missional was so powerful, why don't we hear about it as much today? There's a few reasons. First of all, there's something called buzzword fatigue. Missional became overused. Churches and ministries often slapped the missional label onto old programs without truly changing how they engaged their communities. This has happened in many ways, many times, whether it's simple church or seeker-friendly or purpose-driven. Words and phrases that meant something good were absorbed into organizations that kept doing the same old thing. Additionally, the emergent church, which I sometimes refer to as the divergent church, got in on the action and grabbed onto the word. And as its leaders drifted into progressive Christianity, which I sometimes refer to as regressive Christianity, and as those leaders waffled on the authority of Scripture and even the idea of absolute truth, missional was watered down even further. And so, as with many other Christian words like discipleship, it ended up meaning pretty much nothing. Another challenge is something called implementation difficulty. See, being genuinely missional means moving into a deep cultural shift. Churches, pastors, Christians discovered quickly that shifting from inward-focused ministries to outward-facing disciple-making was challenging. This is in part because a lot of churches were, and still are, built around an inward focus. Many evangelical churches have never shifted from the Old Testament come here model of mission to the New Testament go. Missional implies it's not about you. Missional says get out of this Sunday-centric, building-based Christian life. And a lot of people said, and still say, nah, we're used to this. We like it the way it is. A third issue is that as missional became overused and watered down in its meaning, new words rose up to take its place. There was a shift to specialized language. Gospel-centered, church multiplication, incarnational living, holistic mission. The term missional itself faded, even as people tried to cultivate and apply the core idea. Disciple-making movements, or DMMs. This is an emphasis on multiplying disciples who then disciple others, creating rapidly expanding networks, which is happening around the world. Gospel-centered mission. This frames up all ministry clearly around proclaiming and living the gospel. Kingdom mission. This stresses justice and mercy and community transformation alongside evangelism. Each of these ideas seeks to continue the heart of the missional vision in new language and fresh methods, with some being more effective than others in actually making disciples and moving Christians to live on mission. So what does all of this mean practically for us as disciple makers today? Number one, mission as identity. It's important to remind ourselves and those we are seeking to make disciples of that we don't just do mission, we are mission. Every believer is called to live on mission right where they are. Number two, incarnational living. This means living deeply rooted in our communities, building true friendships, authentic relationships with neighbors and coworkers and friends, sharing Jesus through everyday actions, and of course, ultimately, with the words of the gospel. Number three, a multiplication mindset. If missional meant and means anything biblical, it's about making disciples, which means recruiting people to join Jesus on mission and make more disciples. It's not merely about making converts, not merely about changing communities, but recruiting missionaries. As someone who's lived and moved through many permutations of church ministry, many fads and trends, many biblical and unbiblical ideas of ministry in the Christian life, I don't want to pretend this is easy. It's no wonder missional faded. It's at its core a call to be disciples who make disciples, to live all in on mission with Jesus. It's a recognition that you're sent. And if you're part of a subculture that only calls you to ask Jesus into your heart so you can go to heaven, missional is like a grenade that blows apart the facade. So be missional. Live on mission. Be a disciple who makes disciples. Whatever happens to the words, even if they lose their meaning or are hijacked by people who are not biblical, lock in and follow Jesus completely. Join him on his mission to seek and to save the lost. Invite others to join you and be a part of the answer to the prayer for God's kingdom to come and his will to be done.